My dear students, good morning. This is Deepak Kumar, and today I shall be taking up chapter 3 from your main textbook. The name of the chapter is The Little Girl, that is written by Catherine Mansfield. I already told the chapter. Let me remind you the theme of the chapter. In The Little Girl by Catherine Mansfield, we have the theme of fear, control, freedom, independence, acceptance, compassion, and change. My dear students, you go through the chapter. In case you face any problem, convey the same to me. Today, in this audio content, I shall be discussing with you answers to NCERT questions as well as some very important in-text questions with you. Right, dear students? So let's start. Thinking about the text, the number one question given in your NCERT book. Given below are some emotions that Kezia felt. Match the emotions in column A with the items in column B. My dear students, you just see the questions in your notebook, in your book. I will just directly tell you the answer. I will tell you the answer. Number 1. Fear or terror. Father comes home. Speaking to father. Going to bed when alone at home. Father stretched out on the sofa, snoring. 2. Glad sense of relief. Father comes into her room to give her a goodbye kiss. Noise of the carriage grows fainter. 3. A funny feeling, perhaps of understanding. Father comforts her and falls asleep. 2. Answer the following questions in 1 or 2 sentences. 1. Why was Kezia afraid of her father? Answer. Kezia's father was very strict and dominated everyone in the house. He appeared to be big in size from where she could see him. He never seemed to smile, so Kezia was always afraid of him. Question number 2. Who were the people in Kezia's family? Answer. Kezia's family consisted of her father, mother, grandmother, and herself. Elise, the cook, was also considered as a part of the family. 3. What was Kezia's father's routine before going to his office? Answer. Before going to his office, her father would give her a casual kiss and in return, she would wish him goodbye. 2. After coming back from his office? Answer. After coming back from his office, he would ask for a cup of tea, newspaper, and for his slippers. He would ask Kezia to pull off his boots and take them outside. 3. On Sundays, he would stretch out on the sofa, his face covered with his handkerchief, his feet on one of the best cushions, sleeping soundly and snoring. Question number 4. In what ways did Kezia's grandmother encourage her to get to know her father better? Answer. Kezia's grandmother encouraged her to get to know her father better by sending her to the drawing room on Sundays to have a nice talk with him. She told her to make a pin cushion as a gift to her father on his birthday. 3rd, discuss the questions in class with your teacher and then write down your answers in 2 or 3 paragraphs each. 1. Kezia's efforts to please her father resulted in displeasing him very much. How did this happen? Answer. Kezia's efforts to please her father resulted in displeasing him very much. On Sundays, her grandmother would encourage her to interact with her father. He would invariably be sleeping on the sofa and she would patiently wait for him to wake up. On waking up, he would accuse her of staring at him and would tell her that she looked like a brown owl. Once, her grandmother suggested she should make a pin cushion for her father's birthday. She worked diligently on making the pin cushion, stitching 3 sides of cushion with double cotton with great care. She searched for scrap to stuff the cushion. Since her grandmother was out in the garden, she went to her mother's room. There she found some papers lying on the bed table. She tore them to pieces and stuffed them in the pin cushion. But the papers were her father's speech for the port authority. He rebuked her for touching things that did not belong to her and punished her by hitting her little palms with a scale. 2. Question number 2. Kezia decides that there are different kinds of fathers. What kind of father was Mr. MacDonald and how was he different from Kezia's father? Answer. It was for the first time that Kezia was exposed to a father in the form of Mr. MacDonald, who had come in to live in their neighborhood. She noticed that this gentleman was very warm and cordial with his children. He would play, laugh, and enjoy with the children. MacDonald and his children shared a very friendly relationship. It was unfortunate that Kezia's father was, in contrast, very harsh and unfriendly, along with being a strict disciplinarian. He would beat her, demand her undivided service, but would never spend quality time with her. She wished desperately for her father to be like Mr. MacDonald. Question number 3. How does Kezia begin to see her father as a human being who needs her sympathy? Answer. Once, when her mother fell ill, Kezia's grandmother accompanied her to the hospital. Kezia was left at home in the care of Alice, the cook. At night, after she was put to bed by the cook, she had a nightmare. She woke up shivering with fright. She called for her grandmother, but to her surprise, her father came to her. He had gone up to her bed with a candle in his hand. He blew up the candle, bent down to her, held on to her hand, and picked her up. He took her to his bed, pulled the covers around her, and made her sleep next to him. After a while, unable to sleep, Kezia crawled up to her father, snuggled under his arm, and held on to his shirt tightly. She felt comfortable. Her father asked her to rub her feet against his legs for warmth and feel asleep. At this point, she realized how tired he was after a hard day's work. She understood why her father could not devote much time like Mr. MacDonald. It dawned on her that he was a human and needed sympathy. With this realization, she sighed and told her father, "What a big heart you have got, father dear." My dear students, now let me discuss some short answer questions, in-text questions. After that, I shall discuss with you long answer questions, okay? So, listen it carefully. Number 1. Describe Kezia's father as she saw him. Answer. She saw him as a short-tempered, domineering and a strict disciplinarian. He worked for his family and in turn, he expected everyone to obey his command and be at his beck and call. He was not able to express his softer emotions and was a lonely man who did not know how to interact or play with his only child, Kezia. Question number 2. Did Kezia's father appreciate her gift? Why? Why not? Answer. Kezia could not give the pin cushion personally to her father. Instead, her mother gave the gift to him. She had laboriously stitched the pin cushion, but she had stuffed it by tearing papers she had taken from her mother's bed table, not realizing the papers contained the great speech that her father had to address at the Port Authority. This greatly angered him, and he did not appreciate the gift as she had taken things that were not hers, and that too without permission. Question number 3. Why do you think Kezia stammered in her father's presence? Answer. Kezia stammered in her father's presence because he was overbearing. He did not extend to his little child any love or affection. On the contrary, he would beat her often. This made her very afraid of him. Out of fear, she would stammer every time she came in front of him. Question number 4. How and why did Kezia's father comfort her to sleep? Answer. Kezia's father comforted her to sleep when she had a frightening dream. When he heard his child cry out in her sleep, he came running up to her, carried her to his room, and put her to sleep. But by just giving her the comfort of his presence, she snuggled close to him, rubbed her leg against his legs, and calmly rediscovering her father, she went into deep slumber. Question number 5. Do you feel Kezia's father did right to beat her with the ruler? Answer. No. He could have controlled his anger and listened to her reason. After all, she was just a child. He could have sat her on his lap and explained the importance of not touching things that did not belong to her. Kezia once saw the McDonald's two boys turn the hose pipe on his father, and he tried to catch them laughing all the time. Father-child bond is created with love and understanding, not by domination and strict discipline. Question number 6. Write a short paragraph on the importance of the role of parents in a child's life. Answer. A normal family consists generally of father, mother, siblings, and grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins, if it is a large family. Whatever is the structure of a family, nuclear or large, it is very important to establish a close relationship between all the members. The most crucial relationship is one between the parents and their children. Love, care, correction, trust, faith, the right and wrong are what one teaches the children. It is essentially the parents who have this role to play. Now, my dear students, let me discuss long answer questions. 1. Mother has been ill and grandmother has to accompany her to the hospital. You are now in the care of your father. You are afraid of his domineering presence. Write a letter to your friend describing your relationship with your father and your regret for having misunderstood him. Answer. First, my dear students, you will write your address, then date. For example, house number F216, sector 12, New Friends Colony. Date. Suppose today is 25th August. You will write date 25th August 2020. Dear Penelope, guess what? I made an important discovery about my father. I always feared his presence. Grandma was always the mediator between us, as I could never bring myself to approach him. He appeared like a fierce giant. Every morning he would give me a casual goodbye kiss, but I always felt stifled, suffocated when he was at home. He showed no sympathy or patience. I would stammer whenever I spoke to him. On his return from office, he would insist to pull off his shoes and carry his teacup back to the table. Once, he scolded and beat me for innocently tearing up his speech that he was to address at the Port Authority. Hey, but he isn't an iceberg. This I discovered when unfortunately my mom fell ill and was hospitalized, and grandmother had to be with her at the hospital. That night, as usual, I had that awful dream and I screamed. The very next moment, I noticed father was by my bedside. He had lifted me in his arms and carried me to his bed. I felt so safe with my dad. Now I realized my father was not that bad. He had a big heart and I could hear it beat. I had never felt so warm and loved by him before. Now I realized how hard he must be working all day. I just hope mother gets fine soon and back home. Love, Sandra. My dear students, now question number 2. As Kezia's father, make a diary entry of the day you warmed up to your little daughter. Answer. Sunday, 10th of June, 20XX, 8:25 p.m. Dear diary, I heard little Kezia crying aloud. My heart bled. The poor baby was crying out loudly. Mother was out at the hospital attending Kezia's mother. I had dozed off and was shocked to hear her desperate cries. I lit the candle and ran up to her room. Until that moment, when I went up to her, I did not realize how afraid she was of me. She was already shivering because of what seemed like a nightmare. I carried my little angel, took her to my room and put the little darling to sleep. It was such a wonderful experience. Her warm breath against my chest and her little fingers holding tightly onto my shirt made me realize what I had been missing for so long. A very warm feeling of exceptional love towards little Kezia blossomed in my heart. I hugged her tightly and both of us slept like babies. She is with me tonight also, feeling very happy. Strange. Good night. Question number 3. Kezia was crying. Her grandmother was away at the hospital with her mother. Her father had slipped into deep sleep. He did not hear the child crying. How would you conclude the story? Write a paragraph. Answer. Well, it was a very sad situation. The dreadful dream was disturbing her on and off. What was troubling her was it the fear of her father, or normal nightmares that everyone is frightened by. The little girl woke up shivering in a state of panic. She was shouting out for Grandma, who was not at home, crying desperately. Kezia knew her dad was at home. She mustered up the courage and quietly crawled up to her father's room. Will Daddy get angry with me? Will he beat me? The girl was in a dilemma. She stood outside his door. He suddenly opened his eyes and saw her tear filled eyes. Looking at him desperately, he felt a sudden ache in his heart. What happened? He asked in his hoarse voice. She stammered, I'm scared. He was torn apart. He picked up his little daughter and hugged her warmly. This was the beginning of a new relationship between a newly awakened father and his little baby. My dear students, I request all of you to listen to the audio content carefully, and in case you have any doubt, please convey the same to me at the earliest. Thank you, my dear students.